Richard Belzer, extraordinary smartass as a comic and a TV cop, dies at 78. The stand-up legend and groove tube actor played Detective John Munch on Homicide, Life on the Street, and Law & Order, SVU, and 8 other shows. Richard Belzer, the beloved comedian who began as an edgy stand-up performer before finding further fame as the cynical but stalwart detective John Munch on Homicide, Life on the Street, and Law & Order, Special Victims Unit, has died. He was 78. Belzer died early Sunday at his home in Beausoleil in southwest France. Writer Bill Sheft, a longtime friend of the actor, told The Hollywood Reporter. He had lots of health issues, and his last words were, "Fuck you, motherfucker," Sheft said. Belzer made his film debut in the hilarious The Groove Tube, 1974, warmed up audiences in the early days of Saturday Night Live, and famously was put to sleep by Hulk Hogan. Munch made his first appearance in 1993 on the first episode of Homicide and his last in 2016 on Law & Order SVU. In between those two NBC dramas, Belzer played the detective on 8 other series, and his hold on the character lasted longer than James Arness on Gunsmoke, with Kelsey Grammer's on Cheers and Frasier. Certainly one of the most memorable cops in TV history, Munch, based on a real-life Baltimore detective, was a highly intelligent, doggedly diligent investigator who believed in conspiracy theories, distrusted the system, and pursued justice through a jaded eye. He'd often resort to dry, acerbic wisecracks to make his point. "I'm a homicide detective. The only time I wonder why is when they tell me the truth," when a typical Munch retort. In a 2016 interview for the website The Interviews, An Oral History of Television, Homicide executive producer Barry Levinson recalled listening to Belzer on The Howard Stern Show and liking him for Munch. "We were looking at some other actors, and when I heard him, I said, 'Why don't we find out about Richard Belzer?' Levinson said. 'I like the rhythm of the way he talks, and that's how that happened.'" The pencil-thin Belzer portrayed Munch on all 7 seasons of the NBC series. When it ended in 1999, the actor wasn't quite ready to say goodbye to the role. He had appeared as Munch on NBC's Law & Order 3 times from 1996 to 1999 and thought he might be a good fit on that show. When Homicide was cancelled, I was in France with my wife and she said, "Let's open a bottle of champagne and toast." "You did this character for 7 years, Belzer recounted in the 2009 book Law & Order, Special Victims Unit, Unofficial Companion. "And then I remembered that Benjamin Bratt was leaving L&O, and so I called my manager and said, 'Call Dick Wolf. Maybe Munch can become Detective Lenny Briscoe's partner because we teamed up for the crossover.' So he called, and Dick said, 'What a great idea, but I've already cast Jesse Martin to be the new guy, opposite Jerry Orbach.'" Wolf, however, was in the process of developing a Law & Order spin-off to focus on the NYPD's Special Victims Unit, the division that investigates sexually based crimes. He wanted Munch for that. When Law & Order SVU debuted in September 1999, Munch had relocated from Baltimore to New York to join forces with Detective Olivia Benson, played by Mariska Hargitay, and Detective Elliot Stabler, played by Christopher Melanie. Captain Donald Cragen, Dan Florek, was brought over from Law & Order to head the squad. Munch's sardonic demeanor turned out to be perfect for the grim tone of the series, and Belzer played 14 seasons. The character announced his retirement from the NYPD in 2014, but Munch returned a couple of years later for the 17th season episode Fashionable Crimes. Belzer, as Munch, showed up on a 1997 episode of The X-Files that appropriately dealt with the origins of the show's resident conspiracist, the Lone Gunman. He also popped up on The Beat, Law & Order, Trial by Jury, and The Wire, and played the cop for laughs on Arrested Development, 30 Rock, and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. A puppet who looked like Munch even showed up on Sesame Street. I never asked anyone to be on their show, so it's doubly flattering to me to see me depicted in a script and that I'm so recognizable and lovable as the sarcastic detective and smartass, Belzer said in a 2008 interview. "Much to my delight, because he's a great character for me to play, it's fun for me, so I'm not upset about being typecast at all." Richard J. Belzer was born on August 4, 1944 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. His penchant for comedy grew out of an abusive childhood and a mother who beat him and his older brother, Len. She always had some rationale for hitting us, he told People magazine in 1993. My kitchen was the toughest room I ever worked. I had to make my mom laugh or I'd get my ass kicked. Belzer's self-described uncontrollable wit in the classroom often landed him in trouble, and his stay at Massachusetts Dean Junior College ended abruptly when he was expelled for organizing on-campus protests. A series of odd jobs followed, including census taker, dock worker, and jewelry salesman. For a time, he pursued a career as a journalist and worked for the Bridgeport Post newspaper. A tragedy made Belzer reassess his priorities. 3 years after his mom, Frances, died of breast cancer, his father, Charles, a salesman, distraught over his wife's death, attempted suicide in 1967. Belzer found him and saved his life, but a year later, his dad succeeded. Belzer's brother, who produced the radio program The Comedy Hour, would also die by suicide, leaping from the roof of his Upper West Side apartment building in 2014 after his wife, Sesame Street director Emily Squires, had died. Richard Belzer, extraordinary smartass as a comic and a TV cop, creepy last word before he died. To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. Love never dies a natural death. It dies because we don't know how to replenish its source. Hayden Panettiere's brother, Jansen Panettiere, has died. Jansen Panettiere, an established voiceover actor who had a role in Ice Age: The Meltdown and was brother to actress Hayden Panettiere, has died, according to Casey Kitchen, a representative for Hayden Panettiere. He was reportedly 28. His cause of death is unknown at this time, and an investigation is underway, according to Kitchen. CNN has reached out to a representative for Jansen Panettiere for comment. Jansen Panettiere got his start as a child actor in the early 2000s alongside his sister, best known for her roles on NBC's Heroes and ABC's Nashville. Some of his earliest credits included an episode of Even Stevens and other small role on the sitcom Hope and Faith. As his career evolved, Jansen Panettiere began working as a voiceover actor. He voiced roles in various television shows and films, including 4 episodes as Periwinkle in Blue's Clues in 2004 and the shovel-mouthed boy character in the 2006 animated film Ice Age: The Meltdown. In 2005 and 2006, Jansen Panettiere was a series regular on the animated Nickelodeon television show The X's, about a family of agents thwarting evil. He went on to appear in various other titles throughout the 2010s, such as The Walking Dead, Major Crimes, and How High 2. The most recent professional credit shown on the actor's IMDb was a 2022 role as Robin in the romantic film Love and Love Not. Jansen Panettiere, also an aspiring artist, received his bachelor's degree in economics from Drury University in 2016, according to his LinkedIn. According to a biography on his website, he turned to art as a way to help him cope with anxiety and depression. "I paint my problems," he wrote on Medium in 2019. "It gives me a sense of ultimate purpose.